Okay, so episode 12, All That We Can't Leave Behind. Madiha creator,
Osman here.
Osman here. No other introduction.
That's it.
That's it.
How it started, and that's how it's going to end.
So we were having this conversation, and you asked me a question. It's like, what comes to mind when I say all that you can't leave behind? And I know it's not the episode that I wanted to do.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening to me.
No, not at all. The episode that I actually wanted to do was trusting the universe, trusting the process, which is perhaps an episode that we may end up doing at some other point.
Absolutely.
All that you can't leave behind has a sense of hope for me still. And I'm just going to say or talk about the reply that I made to you earlier, which was, imagine that you have a scar on your face and it's a big, ugly scar. You avoid the mirror for a long, long time. So you don't have to look at that scar because it does not make you feel good about who you are. And then comes a day after a series of events that you choose to look at yourself in the mirror. You see the scar, it's still there, the red throbbing part of it, but you also see other parts of yourself. You see your eyes with a light in it that you had not seen before. You see your beautiful face, you bring your hands towards the mirror, there's that, you're alive, you're breathing. There's a lot that you've overcome. There's a lot that's still yet to be overcome. And so in that moment, there's a lot of your behind that's standing with you, or a lot of your past that's standing with you as you stand facing that mirror. But you make a choice in that moment.
Yep.
And the choice that you make is, am I going to step forward with the scar in spite of it or because of it? In spite of it brings us to a victim mentality. That's my perspective. Mm-hmm. Because the scar is there and it's a visual representation of everything that I've ever gone through. Mm-hmm. But in spite of it, I will choose to step forth in light, right? So that's one perspective. And the other perspective is, there's a lot that I have walked through in my life to be able to reach this moment. And in one of those moments, I got this scar. Mm-hmm. And in all of those moments, I understood who I was not and what I did not want. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I honor those moments standing in front of that mirror. Mm-hmm. And I choose to walk or look ahead because of this scar. Because of all the moments that have taught me who I am not, I will now step forth to become who I am. And without that learning of who I am not, there is no way I would have understood or come to an understanding and a realization of the core of me. So for me personally, how that translates into is that I choose to believe in a really silly thing. Silly because it's been told to me, I'm going to get a little teary-eyed again. It's been told to me by everybody that I've ever met, that it's silly to believe that my love can heal. That it's silly to believe that love is the biggest freaking force there is. And I've never been proven wrong about it, about this silliness.
Yeah.
It is the silliest thing because it has not healed and it has not proven itself to be the biggest force it is. But I choose to still believe it. There is no evidence that this universe is showing to me right now.
Interesting. Very interesting the way you put it. So I'm sorry I'm cutting you. And the reason why I cut you is because I wanted to make this very important point that you think that you haven't found the proof of this force being actually doing its work, right? But is it really true? Did you not see the results of love changing or healing people around you? You've been told that it's not true, right? Maybe part of you believes it as well. But if you really dive within and if you really take a look, is it really true that it did not heal anything?
In the moment, it did not.
In that particular moment,
no, in all of those moments, it had not. So now when I contextualize it, because right now we're having a big picture conversation, when you contextualize it, my love for, or my power of love that I had believed in and for myself did not heal my parents' relationship. It did not heal my own relationships. It did not heal my relationship with my son. It did not heal my relationship with my daughter. Until, and so, and I've always loved like this. I've always loved in spite of and because of. I've always had that syndrome of loving, showing up as love. The only difference has been that I was so focused in projecting it outwards that I had forgotten to give myself any of it. And so I was giving it away constantly. And it's taken me 4 decades to come to a point where I understand जगह मेरा अपना प्याला भरा हुआ नहीं है तो मैं किसी को कुछ नहीं दे सकती हूँ और मेरा प्याला भरा हुआ नहीं रहा सारी जिंदगी.
Okay, let's assume for a moment that प्याला भरा हुआ है, शदीद ऊपर तक, right? And then you are being you, loving unconditionally, loving as much as you want to love, right? क्या उससे the marriage of your parents would work out? Would their relationship?
It is now. It is now. And that's what I'm seeing. That is exactly what I'm seeing now. Because when you show up as a broken self with a belief that you're not applying on yourself, because what is the ultimate magic in the universe? It is you, the vessel of love, you, the carrier of love, you love. So if you are not love and you are not loving yourself, whatever thing that you're giving to other people is not love. It's not.
So I tell you a story.
It could be pity. It could be
your own need, right? Your own need to have this perfect space, a perfect set of parents, perfect relationship, perfect children, something, perfect job maybe, everything needs to be perfect. Your own innate need to complete everything, right?
Yes.
Apne version se. So what if we look at things in a perspective कि कुछ चीज़ों को complete नहीं होना होता, but उसके बावजूद like, okay, you loved because you wanted to heal others, right? You thought that your love has the capacity to heal. What if this love's purpose was not to heal, but was just to be there? My question always remains कि किसी भी चीज़ का मकसद define करना शायद it's human nature, right? But why is it so important to have an end conclusion connected with love always?
Because we're born with the purpose. End defined is not equal to not. So when you say कि end defined करना, I look at it as purpose defined करना. Why are you here? Why are you being love? Right? The reason for you to be love is not just to sit in a room and meditate and travel through timelines and light years and come back satisfied with yourself, light a cigarette and go to sleep. That is not the purpose. The purpose is once you have traveled through those light years and being connected with your core, and once you have meditated, the next morning or in the next moment, how are you showing up for the people around you? And if you're showing up in a full way, in the way that you experienced it in that moment, that is the purpose. So to say that I meditated and I experienced and I did quantum leaping and I did all those light years traveling because and not for anything is incomplete.
Okay, hang on a second. Sure, I understand your point of view completely. Whatever you're saying, making all the sense in the universe. But here's another perspective. You get up and you start being you, the loving you. You're not fixing anyone's marriage. You're not fixing anyone's relationship. You're just being you. And your existence, despite that the goal is there to heal, or the purpose is there to heal, it doesn't heal those particular people. But without you realizing it, you're going to be making an impact on 1 billion people.
That's very true. Right? Absolutely.
And those 1 billion people probably needed it the most.
Absolutely.
So the purpose is automatically being fulfilled. Our need is not. Hence my point that why is it important for us to define our spiritual roles in this universe as well. Physical roles to define, okay, now you're a daughter, I'm a son, father, mother, brother, sister, etc., 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 etc. What define, okay. अब उन रोल्स की कुछ ऑब्लिगेशन है वो पूरी करनी है, कुछ अच्छाई हैं कुछ बुराई हैं, उनके साथ कुछ पैकेजेस आते हैं कुछ पैकेजेस आते हैं, वी लिव थ्रू देम, राइट? इवेंचुअली क्या होता है कि हम उस रोल के ना कंज्यूम हो जाते हैं या थक जाते हैं या जीत जाते हैं या हार जाते हैं, बट एक इवेंचुअलिटी अटैच्ड है कि एक बाप ने एक सर्टन रोल प्ले करना है अपने बच्चे की एज के ऊपर, और उस रोल को अगर वो नहीं करेगा तो एक बुरा बाप है. Likewise goes for the mother too. But when it comes down to spiritual entities, love is a spiritual thing, right? Very spiritual. अगर आप उसको भी डिफाइन कर दो कि दिस इज द गोल ऑफ लव, मैंने फिक्स करना है, मैंने हील करना है. I'll give you an example. So there was a phase in my life, and people started experiencing this quarantine and isolation after COVID and during COVID, right? So I started experiencing it in 2013 was the first time when I went through my bone marrow transplant, and that was the time when I was hospitalized for good 28 days, right? Acha. Now the doctors wouldn't come in face to face with me because my immunity was so low that if they would, I would die, right? So that is the space where I was all by myself for the first time ever. Did not know how to deal with myself. उस दिन से पहले या उस moment से पहले अपनी ज़िंदगी में I never dealt with my own self. And when I started dealing with my own self, like the uncontrollable thoughts, all sorts of thoughts, all the fears in the universe would ooze out, right? And वो इतनी loud thoughts होती हैं या थी मेरी कि I don't know how I survived that. Like cancer was the easier thing to deal with, honestly. Those thoughts were brutal. Physical pain was easier, much easier to handle because at least I knew कि अच्छा यहाँ दर्द हो रही है. You know, once you start looking within and start dealing with yourself for the first time ever, imagine a child who's been abandoned for years and years and years and years, and eventually you just have no choice but this child shows up with a gun and a badi si, talwar in the other hand, and like, come here, you dash. Let me fix you today. You abandoned me for so many years. Anywho, so I started processing those thoughts then, one at a time. And they were loud and they were painful and there were fears coming and there was anger and there was anxiety. All sorts of things were oozing out. Eventually, I started understanding. So inner needs acknowledgement, right? All it needs is just basic acknowledgement, acceptance कि भाई मैं हूँ, मान तो लो at least इतना मान लो कि मैं हूँ. Anywho, अगला स्टेप आता है कि जब थॉट्स थोड़ी सी मेलो हुई और थोड़ी सी कंट्रोल में आई तो फीलिंग्स निकलना स्टार्ट हुई. और वो फीलिंग्स प्रॉबली बहुत डिस्परेशन से भी कनेक्टेड थी, पेन से भी कनेक्टेड थी, एंग्जाइटीज एंड फ्रस्ट्रेशन, यू नेम इट, लॉस, सेंस ऑफ लॉस बहुत सीवियर. उसके बाद अगला स्टेप आया, जब वो थोड़ी सी डील हो गई तो उसके बाद कनेक्शंस एंड रिलेशनशिप्स आ गए, द लव फैक्टर. And then the pain started to come from all those connections. It was brutal. आपको लगता है एक पॉइंट के बाद आके कि oh damn, you've been alone, dealing with it all, living in a bubble of illusion, thinking that this is what this world means. It does not, right? क्योंकि शायद हर कोई अपना एक पर्पस फुलफिल करने की, ड्यूटी पूरे करने की, एक रोल को पूरा करने की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी अदा कर रहा है, जी कोई भी नहीं रहा, राइट? Hence, I reached a space where I started to feel for the people who were connected to me by default. Your mother, your father, my mother, my father, siblings. I was in a relationship at that point in time. All of that started to hit me hard. And I started feeling that, oh, usne us time pe itra hurt kiya tha, that person disappointed me then, that person really made it difficult for me, etc., etc., etc. Eventually I realized, despite it all, it was like around 18th day in isolation. And I realized that it took me 18 days just to understand all the thoughts, So 18वें दिन ना मुझे समझ आई कि oh, despite everything that they did to me, I miss them. In this room where I'm all by myself, I miss those people. I miss their faces. I miss their voices. I miss their existence, their presence, the energy, the fragrances, their voices, everything. And that's when I realized, yeah, that's what love is. It's bigger than everything that this world throws at you.
Yeah.
Right? And it doesn't have a purpose.
No,
it
it
is
doesn't.
an absolute parallel to everything else that is happening.
Yes.
So एक आपकी मे बी फिजिकल दुनिया है
Hmm.
और एक आपकी स्पिरिचुअल दुनिया है.
Hmm.
Physical dunya mein, all the roles that we play every day, right? We wake up in the morning, come to work, we do so much, we play so many roles, and go back. And then कोई 15-20 मिनट आधा घंटा आप किसी इंसान से, अपने इंसान से कनेक्ट करते हो on a very very deep level. और आपके दिल से उस इंसान के लिए एक दुआ निकल जाती है, या आपके दिल से उस इंसान के लिए एक मुस्कुराहट निकल जाती है, या आपके दिल के अंदर से कोई एक अच्छा जज्बा उस इंसान के लिए खैर निकल जाती है. That's it. That's what love is. अब इसका पर्पस तो कोई भी नहीं है. वो हील करे ना करे, इससे फर्क क्या पड़ता है?
So here's the thing. You have a very strong differentiation between the physical and the spiritual world.
Yeah.
I have a different perspective on it. And my perspective is that we are spiritual beings who are inhabiting a physical world.
Yep.
It is not separate. Duality is not real. It is an illusion. And so the 15 to 30 minutes that you're allocating for your spiritual understanding is the time that does not need to be boxed in those 30 minutes.
Absolutely.
Whatever that you have learned, you bring to those relationships.
I agree.
The other choice here is to step away and let life happen around you.
Yep. That's the way it is, right?
And you do that when there is a part of you, it's again my perspective, there's a part of you that's still scared
Of course.
of showing up right smack in the middle of life and making a choice. And
Yeah,
I feel
multiple
and
cheeses.
I believe that as spiritual beings, when we were asked to come into this world to have this experience, we were given the most powerful gift of all, and that is free will. And free will is equal to only one thing: make a choice, not in a big way, in big life-changing moments, but in every moment make a choice. And so when we separate the spiritual part from our physical roles and responsibilities, we are afraid of making that choice, of showing up exactly as who you are. And this is another conversation that I was having with you yesterday, in fact. And sorry, this morning.
Yeah.
And I was saying, and I wrote that right in front of me to remind myself that I will not live with that bifurcation of selves anymore. And for me, bifurcation of selves is not different physical selves. That was one part of the journey. It's done. The other part, the next part of my journey, the one that I'm currently on, is how do I bring in my spiritual being to my physical body, and how do I learn to anchor it? And for me, it's a visual, it's a physical sensation. How do I learn to anchor? And I'm trembling right now as I'm speaking. How do I learn to anchor my spiritual being into my body such that when I show up every morning in this world, in my relationships with strangers, in the car, I'm showing up as a spiritual being first. And that is the next part of my journey. And that's a choice that I made. I had made the choice that you're referring to the past 7-8 months. It did not last for long, of isolating myself. I was like, okay, this is, I have no other purpose but to be with myself and to be love. And that has a role. But then there is a next step to it. And I'm on the next step. And this next step is the most liberating moment I've been able to experience in my own life. Because what it means is, for the first time, Usman, I'm not looking outward for anything. And when I do, by habit, begin to look outward through another person's eyes, I realize that I'm doing that. And that is beautiful for my own self to behold of my own self. That for me is the real magic of how I'm watching myself shifting to another person to look at a situation as opposed to look at it from my core. And so the more I anchor myself to my core, the braver I'm becoming.
Oh, yeah.
I'm right now, and I'm so proud of who I'm becoming, because right now in this moment, and it's taken me years to come to this point. And from this point, I'm not stepping back. And for the first time at this point, I'm saying, this is who I am. I am big. I'm freaking brave. And I am shining my light. Are you brave enough to walk with me? Are you brave is an expectation. I don't want to say that. Do you make that choice to walk with me in your own light, in not my light? So now I'm not looking to heal because nobody can heal. A person makes a choice to heal, and then people come in to help them reach that goal. But I can't make that choice for you, for my mother, for my sister, for my own children. I can't make that choice, and they're from my own body. So I can't make that choice. But I can make that choice for myself, that I choose only to walk with people who choose to walk in the same light that I'm walking, because I will not walk. I will not lead people who are not ready, and I will not convince them.
So that's one way to put it, right? That's absolutely clear. By the way, this energy of yours and this bravery of yours and this light of yours that made me connect with you. The first time I saw that, it hit me hard, because after a very long time, I was able to understand something that you were going through, and that literally hit me really hard. And I think that was the same instant when I messaged you immediately. Like I had to connect, just genuinely had to connect, because मुझे लगता है कि शायद ये बहुत सारी ऐसी चीज़ें जिन पे कोई बात नहीं कर रहा, या अगर गुजर भी रहा है ना, तो इतनी खामोशी से, इतनी सीक्रेटली गुजर रहा है कि वो छुपा रहा है अपने आप को. And this is something to flaunt. This is something to show. This is something to show off, in fact. It doesn't big time. They're huge. Anyway, second part of it that you just mentioned, you can walk around alongside people, right? In your own light. Keep healing, keep evolving, keep being you unapologetically, right? That is where all the magic does happen, right?
Absolutely.
But गड़बड़ कहाँ पे आ जाती है? This is my point of view for now. जब हम कहते हैं कि इस सारे प्रैक्टिस का या इस सारे के सारी एक्सरसाइज का एक इवेंचुअल गोल है, this has to go somewhere. यार, why do we put ourselves into a situation or a position where everything needs to be defined that way? कभी आज़ाद छोड़ना चाहिए, right?
बिल्कुल.
5 मिनट के लिए, 10 मिनट के लिए एक किसी किस्म की फिजिकल, मेंटल, इमोशनल ऑब्लिगेशन के बगैर.
बिल्कुल, एब्सोल्युटली.
अच्छा, अब जब आप अपने आप को, अच्छा, I come to the first part of whatever you just said. You said that we are healing in our own ways, and that love is enabling it, right? Our love towards ourselves is enabling that to happen. अब इसके पीछे एक और side, when you started the conversation, you look at the scar, and the scar that you carry, and you will carry it for the rest of time.
Yes.
इसकी एक और flip side है. All the beauty that you gained while getting that scar is also a part of you. So I call it collateral beauty. Damage did happen, but uske saath something beautiful was born too.
Yes.
Even though there's a scar which scares you, makes you feel bad about your existence at times, if not always, makes you conscious of your being, makes you apologize more than often, more than you should.
Yeah.
But उसके साथ आपको एक collateral beauty भी तो develop हुई है. अच्छा, वो connected आपकी empathy के साथ हो जाती है. You're more understanding towards the surroundings. You are more kind to everyone, right? You're more real to everyone.
Yes.
You're not faking any of your emotions anymore. You're more generous, right? अब ये एक normal circumstances के अंदर ये सारे traits तो नहीं पैदा हो सकते. So collateral beauty भी आ गई. So जहाँ पे कुछ बुरा आया, वहाँ पे कुछ अच्छा भी तो आया.
बिल्कुल.
Right?
Yeah.
हम हमेशा ये बात कर रहे होते हैं कि अच्छा ये बुरा पार्ट, जैसे फॉर इंस्टेंस मैं अपनी बात करूँ तो मैं कहता हूँ कि अच्छा I was diagnosed with cancer at an age when I was supposed to rule the world, and I was told that I'm going to die, right? उस पॉइंट के ऊपर जब मुझे लग रहा था कि जिंदगी is under my feet now and I have all the answers in the world, I've been told that it's over. Wasn't over, but I was told I had to make peace with it, right? अब उसका एक trauma generate हुआ. The treatment generated its trauma. went through the evolutionary process of healing, physically healing, mentally healing, then emotional healing, then spiritual healing. Like सब damage होता है, right?
बिल्कुल.
एक atomic bomb explosion हो गया है, अब सबको रिकंस्ट्रक्ट करना ही पड़ेगा, लेकिन उसके साथ खूबसूरती भी तो पैदा हुई है, राइट? जहाँ पे वो मैं स्कार्स लेके कैरी कर रहा हूँ, I'll be carrying my that beauty as well, right?
Absolutely.
So that is what it means for me. All you can't leave behind. You know, everything that happens to you was happening for you.
बिल्कुल.
डिवाइन प्लान था, आपकी अपनी कोई एनर्जी ट्रांसफर हो रही थी, आपका अपना कोई जर्नी था, लाइक यू सेड कि ट्रस्ट द प्रोसेस.
Yes.
तो प्रोसेस था आपका.
बिल्कुल.
You were supposed to play a role. I remember back in the day, this is 2008, 7, 6, shayad, I don't know. I'm really bad with my timelines. So I went to Gwadar and to see a friend, and I drove there. So I had one of those moments where I did not know where I was going, but I just left. You know, I just started to drive. And I reached Pasni, in fact, not Gwadar. A friend of mine was serving in the Air Force at that point in time, and he was there, and I went there. And रात को मैं बीच पे बैठा, waiting for the dinner. So my friend asked me कि क्या खाना है. I said, of course, I'm like right next to the samandar, तो मछली, of course, duh. So his Batman brought the fish at about 8:30 p.m. and I just asked him. It was a big fish, you know, like barbecued fish and wrapped in a foil. So I asked him कि यार कहाँ से पकड़ी है? यार साहब मैं गवादर से खरीद के लाया हूँ. ओके, तो ये गवादर में कहाँ से पकड़ी जाती है, कोई आइडिया? आई वाज जस्ट क्यूरियस, राइट? एंड ही सेड कि ये ओमान की कोस्ट से हमारे फिशरमैन वुड गो देयर, क्योंकि ओमान की कोस्ट इज ऑलमोस्ट लाइक 70-80 किलोमीटर्स डीप, लाइक नॉटिकल माइल्स डीप. तो वहाँ से पकड़ के लाते हैं ओपन सी से. ओके, एंड सेड ओके, और ये कितने की मिली? तो उसने जवाब नहीं दिया, बट देन वन थॉट हिट मी. So there was this fish which was born in the ocean. फिर उसको उसका रिस्क मिलता गया, फिर वो बड़ी होती गई, फिर वो कितने सारे डेंजर से बची, हर तरह के मौसमों से बची, हर तरह के अप्स एंड डाउन से बची, एंड इवेंचुअली रीच्ड अ पॉइंट कि जहाँ पे वो एक प्रॉपर फॉर्म में साइज पे आ गई. और फिर किसी ने एक लॉन्च खरीदी और एक बोट खरीदी और वो चला गया समुंदर में, वो बड़ा हुआ क्या, वो पकड़ के उसको गवादर लेके आया, फिर किसी ने एक अपना करियर बना के पैसे कमाए कि उस दिन वो मछली खरीदे, फिर कोई बंदा एक नौकरी पे हायर हुआ कि वो जाके वो मछली खरीद के लाए, फिर किसी ने पकाई. और ये सब कुछ इसलिए हो रहा था बिकॉज आई वाज गोइंग टू ईट दैट. Now
How beautiful.
If you think about that for a moment, this is all that you can't leave behind. This is what we gain, right? इसी तरह one day I remember I don't remember where I was, but probably this was the phase, I call it the dark ages of my life. The reason why I call them dark ages is because this is when I was absolutely confused about who I was. Am I a good human being? Am I a bad human being? Am I a good son or a bad son? You know? अच्छा, नजर तो फील तो कुछ और हो रहा है, समझ कुछ और आ रहा है, सुन में कुछ और रहा हूँ, देख कुछ और रहा है. What the actual hell is happening? हो क्या रहा है, right? So I remember sitting and I think I was just done with my radiations and chemos, and I was on my way to my second bone marrow, you know, and this is like around 2015. And I was just looking at the stars, and you know, like आप उस point पे आते हो अपनी जिंदगी पे जहाँ पे आप you start questioning God too. Okay, what's up, man? Like really, like you know, like you really get to that point. So I call them my dark ages. Like you stop believing. Stop believing in the magic that you were talking about. That you know everyone's been telling you it doesn't exist, but it does exist. So I was losing my magic. So I was just looking at the stars and it just hit me that it's an immense universe, right? इतनी बड़ी कि unimaginable है. Like James Webb का जो image अभी आया है, just take a look at that image. It's just a speck of the entire universe, right? And there are billions of stars, billions of planets. फिर आप दुनिया के अंदर आ जाओ, you know, दुनिया के अंदर billions of things, billions of people. I was looking at the data yesterday. There are 8 billion people in this world. Literally, we're nearing 8 billion. 8 billion people. It's too many people, right? And then animals, insects, organisms, viruses, bacteria, billions of them, species, all sorts of them. And I'm a part of it. अब अगर मैं इस ग्रेटर मैग्नीट्यूड के अंदर, पूरे यूनिवर्सल मैग्नीट्यूड के अंदर अपने आप को देखता हूँ, तो मेरी एग्जिस्टेंस तो इग्नोरेबल, नेग्लिजिबल है, राइट? शुड बी इग्नोर्ड. बट when I take a step, it makes a difference.
Yes.
When I sneeze, it makes a difference. COVID has taught us that when people breathe, it can literally mean life and death for people, right? So my existence, despite how irrelevant and insignificant it seems, it is not insignificant.
No.
मेरे होने से बहुत कुछ हो रहा है.
बिल्कुल.
My words, no matter how hollow or empty they might feel or seem to someone, they're going to create an impact on someone else. Even if I'm not using any emotions or human gestures, my presence is going to make a difference for some. So my existence matters. And that is when this line hit me, that life is passing through me. And like you said, the trust the process, that is when this line hit me, oh, we only die once. Everything else is progress. And it's a part of the process.
It is.
And the part of the process for this universal life which is passing through me is manifesting every day. I'm supposed to play this role that I'm playing. It is exactly supposed to be the way it is. Yes, we do have free will. We have the will to choose how we feel in return to whatever the hell is happening. We have an absolute will to know how to react. But do we make the first move? No, we don't.
Yes, we do. And
How?
that's where we're different.
That's what I want to understand.
Yeah. So, in quantum physics, because at the time that I began to be interested and curious about the bigness around myself, and I realized that I was a part of that bigness, I went to quantum physics. Okay. And what I fell in love, and I read through so many books, जिसमें से आधी चीजें तो मेरे ऊपर से गुजर गई, because I was not reading to understand physics. I was reading to understand who I was, So I was reading from the heart, not from the mind. So one thing that stayed with me and has stayed with me since is the observer's effect. And it's very much in sync with what you're saying. But it has a more active role. You have assigned yourself in your presence-ness a passive space. Passive as in you exist, therefore you matter, which is beautiful, relevant, and true. So the quantum physics says, ये जो उर्दू का मुहावरा नहीं है, जंगल में मोर नाचा किसने देखा?
Yeah.
So quantum physics reply is, वो मोर नहीं, जंगल में मोर नाचा, if the tree falls in a forest and nobody's there to witness it, did the tree actually fall? Yeah. And quantum physics reply is, no, it didn't.
So it did not fall, right?
It did not fall because there's a beautiful concept in quantum physics which is a part of my core belief system, which is called the observer's effect. So the entire universe will remain the way it is and continue to be the way it is in a rhythm that's been assigned to it forever.
Sure.
Until it has an observer, which is an energy, which is us. And when the observer observes a particle will remain a particle until it is not observed. The moment it is observed, the moment it interacts with another energy, it transforms into a wave, and the wave then into a frequency, and a frequency then into physical space. So the observer's effect determines the course of events. And so your choice is not a passive choice. You actively desire, want, create, imagine something. as an observer. You desiring, wanting, creating, imagining is you being the observer. The moment you have done that in the window of your mind, which nobody else is a witness to, but you have thought it, it has already changed the course of events, even though you have not seen it yet. It will present itself to you as an evidence if you're consistent with that observation. Now, this observation is not positive or negative. Anything that you observe comes to be consistently. And this observer's effect is the most beautiful phenomenon. That for me determines, because I remember, and this is beautiful, somebody asked the difference between free will and fate, right? From one of the Sahabi. And what he said was, and it was Hazrat Ali, and what he said was, stand on one leg. And you could stand on one leg. And it's like, now stand on no leg, and you could not. So the 50% of it is fate, and the other one is free will. And so when I say the universe is always exist and always will be, that's fate. But the moment you choose to interact with that universe, which is from the time that you are born, you have free will.
Okay.
If so I believe this, your observer's effect has the power, and it links back to the one line that has always stayed in all my resumes since I was 16. And that line has stayed in my professional resumes. I don't care how it looks. Has stayed in because I'm an author. So it has stayed in all my book publication queries, which is one dream, not reality. One dream lived till the end of the world can change the fate of the world.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting. That's really beautiful. Not interesting. That's really beautiful.
Yes.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah. So one dream lived till the end of the world can change the fate of the world. And as an observer, my free will is what am I choosing to dream? And what I'm choosing to dream is going to change the fate of the world, which is exactly what you said. You being here matters. Your presence matters. Use your presence to choose and act from that place of presence. And acting is not jumping. Acting is knowing what you want and then staying still for you to receive it.
Absolutely. I remember having this conversation with you. Did we not have this conversation like two days ago?
I'm not sure, but one of those conversations.
Staying still is something that I do.
Staying still till you receive it.
Still.
When we don't get what we want is when we are stopping ourselves from desiring, because we are afraid. In all the other moments that we had desired, all the things that we can't leave behind, in all the other moments that we had desired, it did not result in the desire that we had wanted it to be.
But it did result into something else, right?
In something else, right?
Something but maybe that better or worse at times.
Yeah,
right?
But most of us are afraid of desiring again. And that shows up in relationships more often than not. It's because we are scarred and hurt and in pain from our last decisions.
Yeah.
And my free will for me, and it's only for me, my free will says, I will desire it one more time, and one more time, and one more time, and one more time. Because that desire is true for me, Usman. What it results in is irrespective. It is it's inconsequential. But for me to desire an equal partner who walks with me in equal light is something that I will stand true to. And my desire has not resulted in that, but does not mean that it never will. And also at the time that I was desiring it was from a place of brokenness and hurt and pain. How could I, that's a very simple physics.
Yeah, exactly. It's 2 + 2 = 4. Literally, it's basic, right?
मतलब so basic. हालांकि हम लोग पता नहीं ये कैसे हो गया भाई, कैसे क्या मतलब ये कैसे हो गया? आप कौन है भाई? जिस तरह हैं उसके who you are is what happened to you.
Yep.
That's the formula. Who you are is what happens to you. It's so simple. Nothing happens to you. Nobody happens to you. Nobody influences you. Who you are happens to you.
That's so funny. Remember, like we had this conversation, like I happened, you happened situation,
Yeah.
So coming back to the first part, like you said that you choose to desire, right? That's a wonderful way to put it, because this literally opened up this, there was this light bulb, the bulbs which are hit.
It's a neural pathway that lit up. Really.
Yeah. So made it literal bulbs, right? So like you actually have the bulbs on your head. I don't think the people can see them, but yeah, you've got like ding. So that bulb went off, and so I just understood and realized that for the longest time, my desires always been connected to an eventuality. Man of goals. ये करना है, ये इस तरह करना है. This needs to happen because, yeah, I had the need to do something, right? And then karte gaye, like kept on being that responsible human being who's constantly doing something. I reached a space where I understood that, well, I don't want to do any of it.
Yeah.
And that is literally, I was telling you this, I literally walked away from a workplace, never returned. I was just done. Literally, I was so done, And likewise, in relationships and otherwise in things in life that we do, I reached a space where I realized, no, this is the time for me to breathe and be, and not be responsible, and not be accounted for, and not be held ke ye karna tha, ye nahi kiya, ye kyun nahi kiya, tum aise kyun nahi ho, waise kyun ho. You understand? So my freedom happened, my active choice happened to be precise, January 2022. No, literally middle of December 2021. And I mindfully decided, okay, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm tired. I physically felt exhausted. Emotionally, to pucho hi mat. And I decided, कि नहीं, मैंने इनमें सब कुछ भी नहीं करना. I need to breathe.
Yeah.
And I need to stay alive. And I was listening to one of your podcasts, and I went through that inner child, the part where you were mentioning that. And I realized, okay, oh shoot, I had one too. That child who never got to be a child ever, who was always supposed to do something for someone and be something for someone else.
Yep.
अपना आप तो वो बेचारा कभी बना ही नहीं है. So literally after listening to that particular podcast, it hit me for the first time, oh, that's what I did in January. I listened to my inner child for the first time. My inner child just wanted to be freaking free.
Yeah.
And be okay while not being. So conditions of worth है, right?
बिल्कुल, absolutely.
उस्मान ये करेगा तो उस्मान एक अच्छा है.
बिल्कुल.
अच्छा बेटा तब बनेगा जब इन सारे क्राइटेरिया में अच्छा हस्बैंड या बॉयफ्रेंड या फियांसे या एम्प्लॉई या भाई या व्हाटएवर दोस्त तब बनेगा जब उस्मान विल डू दिस. नहीं करेगा तो उस्मान को हम रिजेक्ट कर देंगे, उस्मान के हम चलेंगे, कैंसिल कर देंगे,
उस्मान को कैंसिल कर देंगे.
My niece says this every third sentence is like, you're cancelled. You're cancelled, right? So Usman cancelled, right? Every second thing Usman cancelled. And Usman had this need to be loved, right? Usman is a freaking human being who's been loving because he wanted to be loved.
Absolutely.
Right?
Bilkul.
Reached a space where he realized, that.
I'll consciously put a beep here.
So you all know what this beep means, right?
Yeah.
You all know what this beep means.
Yeah.
But literally, and then reached a space where like, nah, yaar, I need to breathe. And I need to breathe my way. And I don't need to be anything for anyone anymore.
Yes.
At all.
Absolutely.
And I don't intend to cancel anyone or judge anyone who wants that or wants to be like that or expects of me. Beautiful of them. And they think something of me, They still want me to be
beautiful of them.
It is.
Good for you.
Good.
So happy for you.
Yeah, I am. I'll give you a trophy too for this, for wanting me.
Yeah.
Usman should be this kind of a son. Usman ko is tarah ka bhai
But I'm
hona
not
chahiye.
going to do it.
नहीं, if it's happening, शायद वो actually हो रहा हो.
बिल्कुल.
शायद मैं वैसा ही हूँ जैसा वो चाहते हैं. But don't put it as an obligation. Like, don't kill me if I don't do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't hate me or belittle me if I'm unable to. Because this has happened, right? Relationships,
Yes.
my relationship failed because मैं एक certain criteria पे उतरने की capacity नहीं रख रहा था,
Absolutely. Yeah.
right? Collapsed. Then where did that love go? Right? Then I literally reached a space where I started questioning the existence of love in the first place. कि यार ये सच भी है कि fraud लगाया हुआ है?
बिल्कुल.
सारे ड्रामा तो नहीं कर रहे मिलके, you know, मुझे उल्लू का बाटा तो नहीं बनाया
One big hoax.
right?
Yeah.
Like everyone is in it.
Yeah.
Since the childhood till you die.
It's like Christmas.
Literally.
Sponsored by Coca-Cola. So I don't know who's sponsoring love, but dude.
Who is?
Yeah.
Let's figure that shit out. Who's
It's
sponsoring
real.
love?
This is one thing that's real.
Right? I believe that. But I understood that too, that I don't want to attach my love with consequences. And I understand because it's always been connected to some consequences, right? कुछ पूरे नहीं हुए. And the bitterness that follows, अगर वो पूरे ना हो, यार, you cancelled, not only cancelled, you're actually rejected to an extent कि आप इंसान, आपको तोड़ देते हैं.
बिल्कुल.
You know, they literally kill you into pieces and then they find all those pieces and then kill those pieces too. And then उसके आगे जो pieces होते हैं उनको भी तोड़ते हैं.
Little, still intense. Okay. Very intense.
Eventually you reach that atomic state
of
subparticle
of
state,
murdered
You know?
atomic space. Got it.
And then you start gathering those pieces thinking, यार मैं एक उल्लू का पट्टा था. Something was so wrong. All these pieces are full of shit. And you gather them and then you become a big pile of shit. And then you find someone to throw that shit on.
That's exactly right.
Right?
That's exactly
So
right.
I don't want to do that.
Yep.
So I realized ke, oh, you thought that shit. I don't think so. I'm sorry that you feel this way.
Absolutely.
I apologize
Yes.
because probably you felt really bad too. But no, the role you wanted me to play
I don't want.
was exhausting.
Yeah.
Because seriously, मैं इंसान हूँ. तुम भी हो. You be you.
Here's the thing though, Usman. People who project expectations, and that goes back to the inner child, are people who have not met their inner children. So you only are expecting something, or you expect things from other people, things that you've not gotten yourself. So, and that's the only truth.
Maybe.
So,
yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yes.
From a woman's perspective, the story of our life is to be accepted and validated. Validated, forget accepted. Validated first and accepted later. And that validation stems from the need of being accepted as exactly as who you are without anybody desiring or demanding change of you. But from the time that you're little girls, you're taught to be the proper girl. I'm just saying from a woman's perspective. That's very true for boys as well. So there's a criterion for girls and there's one for boys. And so you begin to know that however you are as yourself is not enough as a child. And you should be a certain way for you to be accepted and for you to be rewarded. And because you have lived with seeking that validation or getting that validation or being taught to get that validation from external sources, when we step as adults into our relationships, we are seeking validation again, and this time from our partners. And that validation, no matter how much we get, will never, never be enough. Because our inner child does not need to be loved by another human being. It needs to be loved by you.
True.
And if you're not validating your inner child, then you can have the train wreck of a life that I've led. You can have 5,000 different relationships and you will never be happy. And even if you were with the most amazing human being in the world, where you had absolutely no justification of saying, फिर भी आपको ना कोई, क्योंकि आपको actually validation किसी और से नहीं चाहिए, आपको अपने आप से ही चाहिए. So it's when we take the wounded inner child to relationships is when relationships flounder and crumble and destroy ourselves and everybody else, because there's a lot of collateral, not beauty but damage of a failed relationship. So
is there no beauty after a failed relationship? That's a question.
In the moment, collateral in this case, मैं collateral damage को define करी थी of emotional. But
no, I'm asking this question.
If you don't learn,
damage तो हो गया
if you don't learn then it's damage. If you learn, it's beauty.
Yeah, that's so true. Like if that applies to every situation.
Yeah,
right?
तो वरना तो फिर एक cycle of damage तो शुरू हुआ है. But the moment you learn, and I think it goes back to when you apply it, especially to my position. So when I think of my inner child, she's this fierce little warrior girl who's standing, eyes blazing, not looking at the horizon, but looking at me. And she's standing there, and she wasn't like this when I found her. She would not come out. She would not speak to me. She did not recognize me. I did not recognize her. But at this point, and I see her so clearly in front of me, and she is the inner child who is so freaking brave because she does not give two flying hoots as to what anybody else wants or desires from her. She is going to stay true to herself, no matter what. And if she stands here alone, staying true to herself, wo usko kabool hai. But never ever taking her eyes away from me. And it is this moment of my connection with the inner child that's fueling my courage. That's where but that has been years of healing, and it is still being healed, but I recognize it. So today or the day before yesterday, however, because it's not healing never stops.
It never does.
It never, and if it stops, then you die. So healing never stops. But you begin to recognize the patterns, and my God, the beauties. You know your favorite track that you listen to, and you anticipating the violin, you anticipating the tabla kick, and you anticipate it. Oh my God. Then healing becomes freaking awesome. Then you see, that's the rhythm. I see you, I see you, I see you. Okay, I accept you. Stay here for a while. I will do my work. Come back. Tell me what you want to talk to me about. This is what it is. I love you so much. And tada, move on. And then tomorrow is another day, another moment arrives. But it is this moment that I will never compromise on, which is my inner child looking at me, and I'm looking back at my inner child, and I'm so freaking clear on who she is. I'm so freaking clear on who I am. And never again am I compromising my self-worth, or am I ever looking at my worth from another person's eyes again. Never again. Never again.
Oh, that's a lot of bravery.
And so
right
that
there.
means, so this is amazing me, right? So when this amazing me enters into a relationship, then it has to be a relationship of equals. And what that means is that because I understand my own patterns, and I understand what it means to want to be validated by another human being and to be expected so much from and not being able to deliver it, that expectation thing comes crumbling down. But the other person has to make that equally brave choice. So ये नहीं होता है कि हमारी हीलिंग खत्म होगी और फिर हम लोग रिलेशनशिप्स में जाएंगे. ऐसा नहीं होता. ये कोई स्टोरी नहीं है. No filmmaker ever. Never. That will never happen. But there will be two people who have reached a certain point in their life, and there's a completely new life to go towards. But they've reached a certain point in their life. Okay, from this point onwards, I will choose to trust myself enough to know that if I'm making a choice at this point, there's got to be something there, because I'm not hurting anymore. I'm not broken. So अगर मैं इस point के ऊपर कोई चीज choose कर रही हूँ, तो वो broken नहीं हो सकती है. That trust, that's the trust that I am standing where I'm bringing.
Amazing.
So from your perspective, now that you've reached a certain point in your healing journey, and whether it's start, midpoint, doesn't matter, there's a certain point you've reached. What does going forward look like to you personally?
So giving myself more and more space, occupying space of my own life.
Yes.
That's the only way forward. So like you said, that your inner child is looking at you, right? Fearlessly, and she's got this passion and this energy and everything. I am my inner child right now. It's become one.
How beautiful.
I do crazy things, things that I never dreamed of doing, things that I was too scared of doing, things that would get me judged and kicked out of places and spaces. That's who I am.
Good.
And I'm happy about it. I really am. I've started to be unapologetically myself. It's been a while that I've been that, and I think I'm going to continue doing that. So I'm loving every bit of it. I don't know where tomorrow will take me. I have no idea.
So if we want to summarize all that you can't leave behind post this conversation,
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? Like from the point that you're standing in right now, what does all that
So
you got mean?
everything that I've become,
Mm.
it's all because of everything that I couldn't leave behind. And I carry it with myself.
It's beautiful.
One step at a time.
Mm.
Loads and loads of crap.
Mm.
That I couldn't leave behind.
Mm.
Because it was my crap.
Mm. Mm.
बहुत आसान है ना कि so for the longest time I used to tell this to myself that I lost my finger when I was 3 years old, right? 3.5, 2.5, I don't remember. And I would tell myself that this was the first lesson that I learned कि अगर कोई चीज़ खराब हो जाए तो उसको काटो और आगे चलो. Right? I think I made this story up when I was 16 or 15. Okay, I said, this is a lesson. And like, oh, this is what it was.
Right.
Something went wrong in my life and I cut it and I moved on.
Mm.
Nope. I carried this broken finger
Mm.
forever.
Mm.
And I couldn't leave it behind.
Mm.
Likewise, all the things that I've gone through, all the people that I've met, some of them died, some of them are still alive, some of them are part of my life, some of them are not. Some love me, some hate me.
Mm.
Some helped me, some killed me
Mm.
in their own specific ways. But I couldn't leave them behind. I carried them. And I carried all of them in my journey till date. And it enabled me to be who I am. It made me what I've become.
Mm.
The person that is Usman, the inner child, which is so freaking alive,
Mm.
that अब वो कोई दो लोग नहीं रह गए हुए.
Mm.
Like I've literally never thought of buying myself the toys.
Mm.
I'm doing that right now. I'm nearing 40.
Mm.
Planning to go for skydiving pretty soon. दिल कर रहा है. अच्छा हेल्दी खाना खाना है. नहीं आज ये दिल कर रहा है. दिल कर रहा है. So I really want to live that inner child for a while and laugh and be happy and celebrate every moment of my existence. And whoever I meet and wherever I sit down, whatever I do, I be myself. नहीं फिक्र कि अच्छा ये नौकरी से निकाल देंगे, ये घर से निकाल देंगे, ये जिंदगी से निकाल देंगे. बड़े अल्टीमेट क्योंकि प्रैक्टिकली फिजिकली होता रहे.
बिल्कुल.
अब ये डर खत्म हो गया. निकालेंगे तो मैं कहीं और चला जाऊंगा. बहुत बड़ी दुनिया है. There are 8 billion people in the world, right?
That's reassuring. Thank you for sharing that stuff today. Thank you.
Literally 8 billion
Public
people.
service announcement. Guys, there are 8 billion people out there.
So calm down.
It's okay. It's okay.
If
Stay
10
strong,
people hate
everybody.
you, 10 people hate you, there are literally 7 billion, 99 million, 990,090 people that still can like you. So hang in there.
Yeah.
I don't know if my maths was correct or not. But coming back to the reality. So my all you can't leave behind is something that enabled me to embrace everything that did hurt, everything that went wrong, everything that was broken, everything that was tainted, everything that was stinky, smelly, painful, or in short, bad and good. And I carried it forward. I did not abandon any of it. I did not reject any of it. I did not cut any of it. Just took it forward, kept embracing it, kept accepting it, acknowledging it, till the point that it all became one me.
That's beautiful. So my two, when we wrap it up, as we're wrapping it up, would just be here's to being brave while doing that.
Yeah.
Here's to being brave while becoming one with everything that you can't
Absolutely.
leave behind.
Absolutely.
All right. So thank you so much, Usman, for being
It
here.
was so much fun. I did not know where this 1 hour went.
Is it 1 hour already?